All right, what's up, everybody? Happy New Year. Kicking off 2025 with a lot of mix of emotions, to be honest. But I'm Barstool Mintzy, coming to you not live from the Chicago office and starting Wake Up Mintzy. We're going to have a good year. It's going to be a good year. New energy. A lot of stuff going on. Tyler Moody joined us from Louisiana. Shout out Stella Blue, pounding Stella Blue. Going to be drinking a lot of Stella Blue these next couple of weeks with this Arctic freeze coming. We're about to be freezing our ass off in Chicago, but luckily we got Stella Blue, the best coffee to keep us warm, and dude wipes to clean up all our messes. I want to start out today. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm upset. A lot of people from Louisiana are upset. Just my heart goes out to everyone affected by that tragedy in New Orleans on New Year's Day morning at 3:15 on Bourbon Street. It's just unspeakable. A truck driving onto Bourbon Street and I believe killing 15 people, 30 more injured. It's so sad. It's got me really, really shook. Tiger Bash, Jack Bash's brother, the star TCU receiver, passed away so sadly. He played football at Princeton and St. Thomas More in Lafayette. I kind of knew the Bash family a little bit because a lot of them worked at ESPN Baton Rouge and I was down there. Great family from Lafayette. It's just so senseless and just heartbreaking. And, thinking so much about New Orleans. New Orleans, such a resilient city, but so many problems. And the Sugar Bowl got moved back from Notre Dame, Georgia got moved back from last night to today at 3 o'clock. I'm glad they're still playing the game. You can't let them win and beat you down. So that playoff game will be today at 3 o'clock. But I'm gutted for New Orleans right now. And there's so many ramifications of this. With the Super Bowl next month, security is going to be heightened. All kinds of crazy stuff's happening around the country right now. I know, we stay away from all that. Generally on Wake Up Mintzy, and we're here to talk ball and DraftKings and make some money and all that. But I just have to start out today talking about New Orleans and my heart's there and how upset I am for the city and just praying for everyone that's affected by the senseless tragedy. It's heartbreaking and it's a terrible way to start 2025 and it's a bad omen. But we're gonna make the best of it. Life goes on. We're gonna have a good year. Let's get the positivity going, and glad they're playing the Sugar Bowl today. Notre Dame and Georgia playing for the semifinal spot. Georgia, I think Notre Dame a 1-point favorite on DraftKings. It moved up to 3 o'clock, and then I got the powder blue out for Ole Miss game day, final game of the 2024 season for Ole Miss. Unfortunately, it's not in the Sugar Bowl. Playing in Jacksonville, playing Duke tonight in the bowl game. That got moved back to after the Sugar Bowl. We're going to be joined by Tyler Moody now coming in from Louisiana. Once again, just wishing everybody a Happy New Year and I hope everybody's safe. Moody, Happy New Year. How are you, bud?
Hey, what's up, man? Yeah, Happy New Year. Obviously I kind of echo everything you were just saying about everybody should be able to hear me. I see my levels jumping. I already told you to turn that on. It's ridiculous, honestly, Mintzy, that you don't have your headphones working, but whatever. I echo everything he just said about New Orleans. I will say this. Our founding fathers gave us a Second Amendment for a reason. You should be carrying it right now if you got it. That's all I will say about the matter. I won't speak down with it. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? No? Can everybody else hear
we
me?
wish...
I'm going to jump out the way real quick and look at this, but y'all should be able to hear me.
Well, we wish Moody a Happy New Year. Glad to hear he's doing well in Louisiana, as always. Absolutely love Moody. Got to hang out with him over the break, watch some ball. A lot of ball to discuss today. Whole bunch of stuff to get into in the college football playoffs. Last night, first of all, we're going to talk about this Ohio State Buckeyes team because I think there's a chance they're going on one of those historic runs where the effort in the Rose Bowl yesterday to come out and blast Oregon like that. They beat them 41-21. This game wasn't nearly as close as the final score. It was just such a slaughter. It was 34-0 late second quarter. And when you look at this Ohio State team, you're talking about a team that, lost 2 games, lost by 1 at Oregon. No one knows what the hell happened in that Michigan loss now. But sometimes sports is just a funny thing. The Michigan loss was the worst and best thing that could ever happen to them because they still got in the playoffs with the home game, and it made Chip Kelly and Ron Day open up the offense, which was exactly what they needed. And now that they've opened up the offense and are not just running up the middle, Jeremiah Smith's the best freshman receiver I've ever seen in college football. He'd be a top 5 pick in the NFL right now. 6'3", 215, 19 years old, had 170 yards and 2 touchdowns. Will Howard, extremely accurate with the football. The running game of Trevion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins. And their defense just dominated Oregon. I mean, you're talking about an Oregon team that scored 32 points against them in the first game. Held Oregon to negative 16 yards rushing. I've never even seen anything like that. I mean, just a total ass kicking. And when you look at what they did to Tennessee and Oregon, it feels like Ohio State's playing a different sport than everybody else right now. Just so dominant. It's just crazy. And the defense, awesome. They're the favorite right now. I believe they're like 2-1 to win the national title on DraftKings. They're moving on, but they've got to be. It feels like the bear got poked with that Michigan game, and now they're so much more explosive than everyone else. And then I want to talk a little bit about Oregon and Dan Lanning. And, man, what a just terrible – I feel bad, legitimately, for their players and fans. You have the year they have to go undefeated. In the Big Ten, you win the Big Ten championship. You beat Ohio State. You beat Penn State. And you get the 1 seed, and you, because the seeding was so screwed up in college football, you end up having to play Ohio State as the 8, who should have been the 6 because of the stupid top 4 bye rules that got Arizona State and Boise in there. I mean, you just look up, if you're Oregon, and you look up mid-second quarter, and you're just, I mean, your whole undefeated season, everything's just gone in a flash. Down 34-0. Like, what happened? They got hit by the Buckeye freight train, and it's just unfortunate for Oregon to have the year they have and just be one and done. And I know that the playoff committee will probably be addressing the top 4 bye rule because of how much it screwed up the seedings. But just brutal for Oregon just to have the historic year they have and just already be out. And shout out to Barstool Tate, to Ohio State. Some really funny content. The Oregon Wallen remake of the 2024 Ducks off the 98 Braves last night was extremely funny. And Tate hit a big parlay yesterday. We all were on the gambling cave. He had a plus 650 parlay. He said before, he goes, I got one that I'm pretty sure is going to win. Hit with 7 minutes to go in the second quarter on Jeremiah Smith and Will Howard and Trevion Henderson and the other stud Ohio State receiver. So shout out to Tate. He's got to be living a good life. Even though it's wild to me because Ohio State fans are still like in their head about the Michigan loss. They're about to go win the national title. And I know rivalry games matter in college football, but damn. I think winning the national championship is the ultimate goal. And they're, I believe, a 4.5-point favorite over Texas and Dallas. And we're going to get into that Texas game right now. So all the playoff games, everybody was bitching. First round, bunch of blowouts. It's all true on campus. That Texas-Arizona State fourth quarter and overtime, I feel like almost made up for it all. The Texas-Arizona State game yesterday, man, one of the scatterboo for Arizona State, I thought one of the most heroic efforts, like not even in the history of like college football, like in sports, the effort he gave yesterday. I mean, Arizona State has two and 3-star offensive linemen that are just getting literally mauled by Texas at the line of scrimmage. They might as well have not had an O-line out there. Couldn't do anything the whole game. They're down 24-8 in the fourth. Kenny Dillingham, who I love, lets them hang low, throws a halfback pass on 4th and 2 for a 40-yard touchdown. Scabby throws. And this dude just left it all out in the field. He was puking in the third quarter. You saw how exhausted he was in the fourth. He ends up with like 160 rushing, 80 receiving, a 42-yard touchdown pass, 2 touchdowns. I mean, he was the MVP of the Peach Bowl even in the loss, but I mean, just iconic performance. One of the best, considering the stakes and the offensive line problems, one of the best efforts I've ever seen. And that game, what a comeback by Arizona State to make it 24-all. You saw the Texas kicker melt down, missing a 48-yarder and then hitting the upright on a 34-yarder that would have won the game. Damn, I thought Arizona State had them. I mean, Arizona State scored first in overtime and had Texas on a 4th and 13 to win it. Would have pulled off one of the all-time comebacks in sports as a 13-point underdog. And then Quinn Ewers hitting Matthew Golden on that 4th and 13 touchdown. And then Texas sees the momentum, scores a 25-yard touchdown on the first play. The second OT gets the 2, and then Sam Leavitt threw an interception. But just such a classic football game. And I know we've had 7 playoff games now, and only one of them's been like that. But that Texas-Arizona State game, I mean, that's one for the books. that I'll never forget. And you look at the coaching job that Kenny Dillingham did this year. You're talking about a team picked to finish dead last in the Big 12. He took it over a year ago. Herm Edwards had this team in NCAA hell. And, I mean, I've never seen a coaching job like that. It was one of the best of all time. To get that team from last in the Big 12 to almost beating Texas to make the semifinal, just a spectacular effort. And, I mean, how can you not love football, even if that was the only really close playoff game? Just one of the best we've ever seen. And I hate Arizona State had to lose. Somebody had to lose. But Texas moves on. They were the much more talented football team. They let Arizona State hang around the whole game. And that was obviously their fault for sure, because they left the back door open for Arizona State, and Arizona State seized it. But Texas moves on, and big break for Texas. They get to play play Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl, but it's in Dallas, so they get a little bit of a home field. They're going to need it with how hot the Ohio State Buckeyes are. But Ohio State and Texas, one semifinal. Looking at the other playoff games, Penn State, no real surprise there. Like Boise was a good story all year, but I thought Arizona State was a lot better than Boise and had a lot better chance, which was ultimately true. Penn State wins 31-14. Should have won even bigger on New Year's Eve. Kotelnicki, the Penn State offensive coordinator, I thought just got way, way too cute. They should have run the ball 80% of the downs. They couldn't stop Katron Allen and that Penn State running game, but he kept kind of throwing it and kept Boise sort of hanging around. But still a really dominant effort. Genty did get over 100 for Boise State, but 2 fumbles. Penn State's defense, played extremely well, and they covered the 12. Had a pretty good football gambling playoff stretch here. I got a 4-teamer on the check out DraftKings. Has all kinds of cool specials for the playoffs, but a playoff parlay with the 100K sweepstakes has four gamer. Had Penn State, the over in Oregon, Ohio State, and the over in Texas, Arizona State, which was a total miracle. And I was completely wrong about and hit in overtime. But I got Georgia left today to try to hit that thing at over 20-1. And almost the last few days, I would have won a 48-1 on Arizona State had they been able to stop that 4th and 13. That was a little bit of a bummer. But still such a classic game, and, just awesome to get to watch it. And Texas moves on, unfortunately. I would have loved to have seen Arizona State keep it going. I don't think Arizona State would have. Texas has a lot better shot against Ohio State than Arizona State would have had. The athleticism would have been way, way too much. And Arizona State was able to do that without Jordan Tyson, their number 1 receiver, who is a complete superstar and was 41% of their targets. But somehow they found a way to fight and provide us an instant classic. And so, I guess there's no moral victories in sports, but that's as close as you can get considering the season they had. Being picked to finish dead last in the Big 12 and ultimately making that bigger run in the playoffs. Some other college football stuff to get to. Ole Miss, final game of the season tonight, playing Duke in Jacksonville. Would certainly rather be playing in the Sugar Bowl. Tough end for Ole Miss, but Jackson Dart and all Ole Miss's guys other than Trey Harris are going today. Duke starting a 3rd-string quarterback, lines up to 17. Malik Murphy, Duke's quarterback, transferred to Oregon State. They picked up Dario Mensah for, the rumors are it was $4 million a year, which is just wild, from Tulane. But neither one of those guys is going to be playing tonight. Ole Miss should be fine in that game. I want to see Jackson Dart go out on top. He's been a Rebel legend for 3 years. He deserves all the accolades. He's just done so much heart and soul of the program, and I'd love to see him get a big final win. That game got actually moved back. We're going to be streaming Notre Dame, Georgia at 3 o'clock today, and then Ole Miss Duke behind it tonight at 7. And what a time for football, because NFL, we got 2 games Saturday with Ravens, Browns, and Steelers, Bengals. We got football all day Sunday, and then next week the playoff games are Thursday night is Penn State against the winner of Georgia Notre Dame in the Orange Bowl. Friday you've got Ohio State Texas, and the next Saturday, Sunday, Monday you're gonna have 2 NFL wildcard games Saturday, 3 on Sunday, and 1 on Monday night. So it's a good time if it's cold outside. Just sit around and watch a bunch of football. I want to give a shout out. I got to give LSU a lot of credit. The way they finished their season, they blew out Baylor in the Texas Bowl. What a wild season LSU had. Going into the year, didn't really feel like a team that was going to compete for the playoffs. Losing Jaden Daniels and Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas, who are all 3 superstars in the NFL already. And they ended up 9-4. What a roundabout way they took to get there. They lost to USC week 1, and then they got hot, ripped off 6 in a row, including ripping Ole Miss's hearts out in Death Valley. Big win at Arkansas. When they got to 6-1, everybody kind of raised their expectations to playoffs. Then they fell off a cliff at A&M, got blown out by Bama, lost at Florida. All this noise around Brian Kelly, and they righted the ship, which you got to give them a lot of credit for. Big wins over Vandy and Oklahoma at home, and then they blew out Baylor in the Texas Bowl to finish 9-4, and they've got a ton of momentum going into next year with Doug Nussmeier coming back. He's the second favorite to win the Heisman Trophy from what I've seen. Next year, they're crushing the transfer portal, and it feels like they got momentum back going into 2025. I know everybody acted like the sky was falling for LSU after the Bryce Underwood flipping to Michigan, but it seems like they got it figured out. Nuss is coming back. They got Michael Van Buren from Mississippi State coming in to be the backup. They've torched the transfer portal with Barrion Brown, and they brought in a Florida State receiver, Patrick Prayton, stud D lineman. They brought in a 350-pound defensive tackle, Harold Perkins, announcing he's coming back for one more year at LSU. So feels like a playoff run coming for LSU, and seems like Brian Kelly and Joe Sloan and the coaching staff and Baker got this thing righted after all the noise, and a lot of momentum down in the Bayou heading into 2025. They've got a really tough schedule early, but I got to say there should be a whole hell of a lot of enthusiasm for LSU and their fans. Once again, the show brought to you by Dude Wipes. You can find them at Amazon, Target, Walmart, all over the World Wide Web. One use of Dude Wipes will change your life. They awesome social media too, and I definitely had the Dude Wipes out in the Will Compton Museum starting my day a minute ago. But shout out Dude Wipes, great stuff. A bunch of Barstool stuff going on. I want to mention Jerry After Dark headed to West Palm Beach, Florida. Sponsored by the Grass League. He's doing his hole-in-one challenge. Last year he captivated America with it. I believe he started on Tuesday night and didn't hit his hole-in-one until Thursday morning. Well, this time it's going to start today, I believe about 6:30 or 5:30 our time. He's actually doing it at a 135-yard par 3 in West Palm Beach. Looks amazing. He's going to be there for 30 hours, and if he doesn't get it there, he's flying back and going to finish it in the office. Moot Can't Sleep doing a watch-along stream for it the whole time. Shout out Moot. Got to respect that effort. But check out the Jerry After Dark. That's going to be a lot of fun. And I can't wait to see if Jerry, man, he's got a tough spot. 135-yard par 3 is going to be tough to get a hole-in-one. The hole-in-one he hit here was for 80 yards. But can't wait to see the content. And sponsored by the Grass League, the new par 3 league that's blowing up. And it's a really cool concept. It's night golf. They have tournaments in Arizona. It's a really kind of a fun partying league, and love that they're getting involved with Barstool. They got a lot of celebrities involved with it. It's a really cool concept. So shout out Jerry After Dark, and can't wait to tune in and follow that. Also, we're getting ready for final week of NFL, and all eyes in the NFL got to just totally be focused on this Minnesota-Detroit game Sunday night. I mean, Kevin O'Connell, holy freaking crap, like, one of the best coaching jobs, too. I mean, I guess if you say Dillingham did it in college, O'Connell did it in pro. This is Minnesota Vikings team. Their over-under was 6.5. They were picked to finish last in the NFC North behind the Chicago Bears. They're 14-2. And I thought they had one of their best efforts of the season. They ended up beating Green Bay by 2 on Sunday afternoon in Minnesota, but that game was nowhere near as close as that final score. Minnesota dominated the whole game. You got Sam Darnold, back from the dead, couldn't cut it for the Jets or Panthers, did a year as a backup in San Francisco. He looks like a freaking MVP candidate, throwing to Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. They're a 2.5-point dog at Detroit, but so much on the line in this game Sunday night. The winner going to be the number 1 seed with a bye, and the loser's a 5 seed having to go on the road to Tampa, has to win 3 straight road playoff games. And whoever loses this game, it's kind of a crime against humanity to go 14-3 and have to go on the road in the playoffs, against a Bucs team that is, going to be over 500, but nothing like that. It's kind of unfortunate. Detroit Monday night, a lot of people were wondering because the game was kind of technically meaningless because they could lose to San Francisco and beat Minnesota and still get the 1 seed. Well, don't tell that to Dan Campbell and Ben Johnson. They came out and beat San Francisco, I believe, 40-35. I thought they might rest some starters. They rested nobody. Jahmyr Gibbs, Jameson Williams, Jared Goff, just all going off. That offense, just mind-blowing. Do they have enough defense with all the injuries? They've got 7 starters out. We'll find out. I thought it was kind of telling when you look at the Detroit-Minnesota game that line came out at only 2.5. I thought that was a little bit surprising with Detroit being at home. It kind of makes me think they really Vegas kind of thinks Minnesota has a really good shot. But that's no doubt Sunday night. That's the biggest game in NFL and maybe biggest game of the season this week. When you look around at the rest of the NFL playoff situation, the Philadelphia Eagles locked into the 2 seed. They're going to sit Jalen Hurts. Looks like they've announced they're going to sit Saquon Barkley on Sunday. Shout out to Saquon, 2,000 yards in 16 games. What a season. The Stephen Shea FFF pod clip is going to live in infamy where he said, don't draft Saquon Barkley. Would have liked to have seen him get a shot at over 100 more to break Eric Dickerson's record, especially against the Giants, how fitting that would have been. But you can't blame Nick Sirianni or Barkley for sitting out. Jalen Hurts already out with the concussion. The fact that you have a 17-game season to break the record almost puts an asterisk by it. But he got to 2016. He proves his point. He's a bona fide MVP candidate. And the Eagles, extremely dangerous as a number 2 seed. The Rams are locked into the 3. Sean McVay and the Rams started 1-4, and I've lost 2 games since. Just crazy. 9-2 since, especially after they got Puka and Cup back. But just another phenomenal coaching job. That defensive line with Verse and Fisk, those rookies have just given them so much replacing Aaron Donald. I mean, you had replaced literally the best defensive tackle of all time, and they somehow found a way in the draft. And what's going to be interesting is who will the Rams be playing, because the Commanders and Packers both are fighting for it. It looks like the Commanders have the inside on it right now with the win, and you got to think you'd rather go play the Rams than have to go to Philly in the first round. But I think the Commanders, with the win this week against Dallas, would end up as the 6. Green Bay looking like they could end up as the 7 and have to go to Philly. One thing, as we said, is locked in. The 5 seed is going to be the loser, Detroit, Minnesota. And Tampa Bay has didn't even mention what a classic game that Washington-Atlanta was with Jaden Daniels. He's the best rookie quarterback I think I've ever seen in the history of pro football. I mean, everybody talked about C.J. Stroud last year, but Daniels has done even more. But leading them to the 30-24 overtime win on Sunday night. And Atlanta, man, the clock management, Raheem Morris, both halves, just timeouts in his pocket. Ended up settling for a 57-yarder at the end of regulation that looked like it was good. There was a hilarious celebration by Falcons fans on social media, but that kick ended up being short. Pain for the Falcons, which I always love to see. But Washington, huge win with Jaden Daniels. They're going to the playoffs now. It looks like, can they get the 6? Atlanta needs help. Atlanta's got Carolina at home. The Bucs got New Orleans at home. The Bucs win the NFC South with a win. And you got to feel pretty good about it considering what you're seeing out of the New Orleans Saints right now. Tampa Bay with the win will be going back to the playoffs, and winning the NFC South could be the 4th year in a row. Great coaching job by Todd Bowles, and especially Baker Mayfield's play and Liam Cohen, the offensive coordinator. They've got that offense humming. They scored 48 points at home against Carolina. Just totally kicked their ass. Dominated on Sunday. Mike Evans just cooking once again. He's like ageless. Looks like he has a great shot. I believe he needs like 70 or 80 yards to have his 11th straight 1,000-yard season. Going to be the second NFL player other than Jerry Rice to ever do that. He's a first-ballot Hall of Famer. And another solid season for Tampa. AFC playoff picture. KC's got it locked up with a 1 seed. They clinched it at Pittsburgh. The thing about KC, all year the offense was kind of stuck in mud, but the last 2 weeks against Houston and at Pittsburgh, Mahomes has the passing game going again. Xavier Worthy stepped up. Hollywood Brown back there. Feels like KC going to be awful tough to beat. 1 seed, and then they'll have a home game, and then they'll have the AFC Championship probably against Baltimore or Buffalo. But they're in such a great spot. They're going to sit out Patrick Mahomes and a lot of guys, Chris Jones, etc., at Denver on Sunday for obvious reasons. Now that they've got the 1 seed totally locked up. When you look at the AFC, the Buffalo locked into the 2. Great season for Josh Allen, maybe the front runner for NFL MVP. They just murdered the Jets on Sunday. God, that was bloody. Just massacred them. Ended up winning 40-8, 40-15, but it was 40-0 at one point. But they're locked into the 2. The Ravens, have to. The Steelers technically could still win the AFC North. The Ravens host the Browns on Sunday. They're like or Saturday afternoon. They're a 17-point favorite. DTR going for Cleveland. Can't imagine Baltimore going to have too much trouble there. Baltimore wins that. They're the 3. Bengals and Steelers play the night game after this. The Steelers will be heavily affected by what happens with Baltimore. The Bengals are actually favored in Pittsburgh. The Steelers are locked into the 5 if Baltimore wins and would be traveling to Houston, who's already locked up the AFC South. Bengals still alive, but they need a lot of help. KC's got to lose at Denver, and Miami has to lose at the Jets on Sunday. Tyler Huntley's going to be starting for Miami with 2 out again, but Huntley actually did look pretty damn good in Cleveland on Sunday. So we'll see if Miami can backdoor in, but I don't know. It's interesting. Denver's an 8.5-point favorite over KC with nobody playing, but you never know. Carson Wentz still going, got a lot to prove. And when you look at Denver, they haven't beaten KC since like 2015. They had a 34-yard field goal blocked in that first matchup this year. Ultimately, ended up costing them. The rest of the AFC playoff picture, the Chargers look like they're going to end up probably as the 6 and travel to Baltimore. We could have a Harbaugh versus Harbaugh playoff game for the second time. Obviously, we all remember the Super Bowl in New Orleans when the lights went out. Shocking. More New Orleans dysfunction. And then Denver's trying to sneak in to the 7 and go to Buffalo, which was, unbelievable coaching job by Sean Payton. He'd be up there for NFL Coach of the Year with what he's done with Bo Nix and a team that's $80 million in salary cap hell and yet still making the playoffs. But I don't see how Kevin O'Connell can't win it with what he's done in Minnesota. And obviously you've got other great candidates in Dan Campbell and Jim Harbaugh, but the O'Connell thing in Minnesota, just unbelievable. But a lot of guys out. One of the things with the NFL this week, going to be looking at the incentives and contracts and bonuses. We're going to be taping the FF Pod presented by our partners at DraftKings here in a minute, but we'll go over all that stuff heavily with that and, set our DFS lineups. Shout out DraftKings as always. Tons and tons of great promotions as they always have them, and love firing the props and the touchdown scores. It's like a whole new way to gamble the last few years with the same game parlays and stuff, but it's so much fun. I mean, it's so cool that you can risk, no matter what stakes you play. If you're high stakes, low stakes, I mean, you can risk $10 and do these boosts and fire at 500, 600 and actually realistically hit it for $10 wagers, which is just a totally new way to gamble. Super, super cool, and love our partnership with DraftKings. It's great stuff as always there. Some other stuff, just a lot going on over the new year. I hope everybody had a great holiday and Happy New Year. I kind of did. I mean, it was good to be back south, seeing family and all that. But now we're back. It's gonna be a cold 2025. But it's gonna be a good one despite the bad vibes. Kind of starting it in New Orleans, and just like I said, before we close this out, I just want to reiterate I'm praying for New Orleans and everybody affected by that senseless tragedy. So glad they're playing the Sugar Bowl today, though. Life's got to go on. What a game that's going to be, too, previewing that. Notre Dame and Georgia feels like an extremely close game, low over under 45. Gunnar Stockton replacing Carson Beck at quarterback for Georgia. I feel like Notre Dame is kind of public here. I think everybody's kind of saying Notre Dame's going to win. I'm not totally sure about that. I think Georgia's getting written off a little bit, and I'll tell you why. Carson Beck had a horrible year, not mobile, turned the ball over a lot. I think Stockton will at least give him more of a running threat in the offense. He looks a little mobile. Notre Dame's got a damn good defense, though. Al Golden, maybe the best defensive coordinator in the country. Riley Leonard, certainly a winner at quarterback and run and throw. Jeremiah Love, elite running back. I feel like this is just one of those games that's going to come down to the wire, like a 2017, 23-20 type deal. Can't really see it being much of a shootout with these two defenses. I think this is going to be a slugfest. Should be a hell of a playoff game. I'm curious what the crowd's going to be like in NOLA with with what happened on New Year's and travel plans getting. I can't imagine it's going to be like sold out. But I kind of think Georgia's going to get it done. I just think people have been writing them off all year because the offense has struggled, but they still are the SEC champions. And when you look at the pedigree of winning 2 of the last 3 national championships, I just feel like you got to give Kirby Smart and his guys the benefit of the doubt. And plus, I'm also just saying that because I got an over 20-1 parlay out with Georgia. But looking forward to streaming that. As I said, join us for the stream at 3 o'clock. I know Chief all fired up in the office for Notre Dame today. Irish with a legitimate shot here to make a run at the championship. The winner of this will play Penn State in the Orange Bowl. Penn State, I still can't get over, how much they benefited from the draw. I mean, Oregon got screwed because they won the Big Ten title. You'd have rather lost, and Penn State ended up playing SMU and Boise, and, you can only play who's in front of you, and they dominated both with huge, huge wins, 38-10 and 31-14. But Penn State really the biggest beneficiary of the stupid top 4 bye for conference championship rule that will get changed next year. I'm more than sure. But looking forward to Georgia Notre Dame. Hopefully Georgia pulls that out. Check out the Jerry After Dark stream, 5:30 tonight from the SoFi in West Palm Beach, Florida, sponsored by the Grass League. That'll be good stuff. Moot Can't Sleep stream. I mean, Barstool, as always, the pirate ship rolls on to start 2025. Lots of big-time stuff going on. And as always, going to be catching up with LSU offensive coordinator Joe Sloan tomorrow. That's going to be a really fun talk playoffs with him on here. And with the way LSU finished the season, I think that'll be a really good Wake Up Mintzy guest. And shout out Stella Blue and Dude Wipes as always, and Tyler Moody for holding down the fort in Louisiana. Let's have a hell of a 2025, guys. Let's have a little positive message here. We're all alive. You can't ask for more than that. Every day is a blessing, as we just saw with what happened in New Orleans. We could all die tomorrow, so we got to just seize the freaking day. Let's be happy to be alive. Let's be good to other people. Let's get out. Let's live a good, healthy, balanced life, and let's enjoy being alive in 2025. It's going to be a great year. Let's keep it positive. Let's keep don't get too down with all this stuff going on. Let's make it bright. Happy New Year to everyone, and we'll be back on Wake Up Mintzy tomorrow. Thanks to Stella Blue and Dude Wipes, and go Georgia today.